So guys, minicamp wrapped up, and I've been going through every single depth chart update, every position battle, every roster move the Cowboys have made, and let me tell you, this is not the same team we were talking about a few months ago. We've got new faces at corner, a real quarterback battle heating up behind Dak, and some position groupings where honestly nothing is locked in yet. Today I'm breaking down the full updated depth chart, position by position, and flagging the battles you need to be watching right now. What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Cowboys. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Let's start where every depth chart conversation has to start, and that's quarterback. Dak Prescott is QB1, no debate, nothing to discuss there. But behind him, this is genuinely interesting right now. You've got Sam Howell and Joe Milton basically splitting reps with the twos. Like, one day Milton is running with the second team, next day it's Sam. That's a real rotation, not just coaches keeping guys sharp. And look, I get why both of these guys are in the conversation. Joe Milton has the upside, he's got the tools. But coming from that Tennessee offense, the learning curve has been real. And honestly, I think it was a bigger adjustment than even the Cowboys expected. Sam, on the other hand, has actually played games at this level. He brings you a floor. So, the real question I keep coming back to is, how close does Milton's upside gets to Sam's floor? Because whichever guy closes that gap first is going to be your QB2 when it matters. Moving into the backfield, and this is a room I'm genuinely excited about. Javonte Williams and Hunter Luepke are safe. I don't think there's any real debate about those two being on this roster. But the battle for RB2 and RB3, honestly, that's one of the more fun position fights on this entire team. You've got Malik Davis, who earned his spot, came off the street and proved people wrong. You've got Phil Mafah, a second-year guy who brings that power back element. And then you got Jaden Blue, and look, this is the guy I'm most excited about in this whole backfield conversation. He's done everything right off the field, he's locked in, and he brings an explosiveness that this Cowboys backfield just doesn't have right now. Phil Mafah is fine, but he's kind of redundant with Javonte Williams in terms of what he brings to the table. Jaden Blue is different. He's a different element entirely. Now, don't sleep on Malik Davis either. People are a little quick to move on from him, but that guy helps you on special teams, and he earned that job the hard way. I'm not writing him off. Okay, now let's talk about wide receivers, because there are a lot of bodies in this room. A lot. Your top four guys are pretty clear: George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, Ryan Flournoy, and Kevontae Turpin. Those guys are on this team, no question. But everything behind them, it is wide open. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Jonathan Mingo, Trayshawn Holden, Anthony Smith, Tyler Johnson, Jordan Hudson, Denzel Mims, Camden Brown, Jaden Smith, all of these guys are fighting for the same handful of spots. And the Cowboys have shown they're willing to cut guys they invested in. So, I wouldn't assume anyone outside that top four is a lock. Special teams ability is going to matter so much for whoever grabs that fifth and sixth spot. And the preseason is going to be huge for this group, especially if the coaching staff is going to be slinging it to evaluate Milton and Howe. That means wide receivers are going to get real looks in live game situations, and somebody is going to take advantage of that. Then, moving to the tight end room. Jake Ferguson is your tight end one, well established, no argument there. Behind him, you got Luke Schoonmaker, Brevin Spanford, Princeton Fant, Michael Trigg, and DJ Rogers as the newer additions. Now, I actually think Spanford is in a really good spot. This team likes him. He's a strong blocker, honestly better than Schoonmaker in that area, and I think he's got a real shot at being TE2. The more interesting question is whether one of those undrafted free agents, specifically Trigg or Rogers, can actually push Schoonmaker down the depth chart or even off the roster. That's the battle I'll be watching in the preseason. And the offensive line, Matt Hennessy is on IR, which is unfortunate, but the rest of this group is pretty deep. You've got Tyler Guyton, Tyler Smith, Tyler Booker, Terrence Steele, Nathan Thomas, TJ Bass, Chris Glazer, Nick Leverett, Trevor Keegan, Drew Shelton, Shiash Pete, DJ Wingfield, Marcellus Johnson, and Ajani Cornelius. Your top 10 or so are pretty established. The battle I'm actually watching is at left tackle backup, and it's between Nathan Thomas and Drew Shelton. Now here's what's interesting about this. Both of them have been rotating in at left tackle 2 and right tackle 2 during camp. That tells me the coaches are less concerned about who wins a head-to-head battle and more focused on figuring out who can be their Swiss Army knife swing tackle. So, The gap between Thomas and Shelton might actually be smaller than people think, and the gap between either of them and Tyler Guyton is probably much larger. Now, I guess I have given you a clear picture of offense. Now, let's move to the defense and the edge room, because this is a group with some real depth questions. Rashawn Gary and Donovan Izeruwaku are your top two, that's clear. Behind them, you've got Malachi Lawrence, Sam Williams, James Houston, Maurice Lee-Fole, Charles Snowden, Tyrus, and Isaiah Land. I think Sam Williams has a pretty clear path to this roster, even if I'm not his biggest fan. The real battle is who gets that edge 5 spot, and whether they even keep a 6th edge. James Houston is honestly the best pure pass rusher of that entire group behind the starters. That's not really close. Maurice Lee-Fole is valuable because of his versatility. He can do off-ball linebacker stuff too, which makes him a different kind of asset. Charles Snowden is on a 2-year deal with little guaranteed money, and if he's focused and dialed in, he actually has a legitimate shot to make this team. Tyrus brings special teams value, and Isaiah Land is going to need a monster preseason to earn a roster spot. Then, interior defensive line, and this room got a serious upgrade. Quinn Williams and Kenny Clark are your big two, and I love what this front is going to look like. Behind them, you've got Otito Ogbonnia, Jonathan Bullard, LT Overton, Jay Toya, and a few UDFAs in Tommy Dunn Jr., Kelvin Gilliam, and DJ Withers. The DT3 battle is the one to watch, and right now I'd give Otito Ogbonnia the edge as the favorite. But Jonathan Bullard fits really well schematically with what this defense wants to do, and honestly his contract situation isn't that different from Otito Ogbonnia's, so if Bullard outplays him, the team isn't going to feel financially stuck keeping the wrong guy. Ogbonnia can play from the 0 technique all the way to the 5, which gives you nose tackle versatility. Bullard is more of a movable piece, 3-tech, 5-tech, 4-eye. And then there's LT Overton, who I think fits this scheme really well schematically. I want to see him get real reps in the preseason because I think his fit here is underrated. Then linebacker, and look, this might be the biggest question mark on the entire roster. DeMarvion Overshown, D. Winters, Jyshawn Barham are going to be on this team. Shamar James, I think, makes it pretty comfortably too. Then you got Justin Barron, Curtis Robinson, and Langston Patterson all fighting to carve out a role through special teams. The biggest battle, though, isn't just about who makes the roster, it's about who gets the green dot. The green dot is basically your quarterback on defense. You want your smartest, most reliable linebacker wearing it. Ideally, that's DeMarvion Overshown if he can take that step. But D. Winters has honestly been the more consistent guy at the weak side linebacker spot. So, the question becomes, if Overshown doesn't grab that green dot role, do the Cowboys flip things and hand Winters those responsibilities full-time? And does that mean they go look for another linebacker to bring in? Honestly, for now, I think they're okay at the position. But I'm watching the first 2 weeks of training camp closely, because if it's not working, they may need to make a move, cornerback, and this room has a completely different feel than last year. Deron Bland is back, Siobhan Revel is back, and you've got new additions in Kobe Durant, Caleb Downs, Devin Moore, Kalen Carson, Reddy Stewart, Trickwezi Bridges, Darion Kendrick, Josh Butler, and Amir Speed. I'm putting Caleb Downs at nickel. I think that's where he plays the majority of his snaps. The battle I want to highlight is Siobhan Revel versus Kobe Durant for that starting outside corner spot opposite Deron Bland. And look, I'll be honest with you, I want it to be Revel. I like that guy coming out. He's a draft pick, he's got upside, and if this coaching staff can unlock him the way they've developed corners before, that's huge for this team long-term and short-term. But I'm also really glad Durant is in the building because he raises your floor at that position in a way the Cowboys desperately needed after last year. So even if Revel wins the job, Durant is going to see the field. Then safety room is looking solid. Malik Hooker, Jalen Thompson, and Caleb Downs are your core 3. Zion Childress can also play that safety and nickel overhang role. PJ Locke will be on this roster. Behind them, you've got Marquise Bell, Elijah Clark, and Julius Wood competing for what's probably one spot. Marquise Bell was signed to be a core special teamer, and he mostly was last year, but when he actually had to play defense, it wasn't pretty. That's fine for now, but next offseason is when his contract starts to become a real evaluation. If Elijah Clark or Julius Wood can beat him out through camp and preseason, that saves the team money in the long run. Finally, special teams, your starters are locked in. Brandon Aubrey is your kicker, Brian Anger is back for another year as punter, Trent Sieg is your long snapper, and Kavontae Turpin is your main returner. The only real battle here is who backs up Turpin in the return game if something happens. They were giving a bunch of guys reps at punt returner during minicamp, and honestly, the name I'd love to see take that role is Jaden Blue. It might be a development thing, but if he can handle it, that adds another layer of value to an already interesting player. That's the full depth chart breakdown, guys. A lot of competition, a lot of open battles, and training camp is going to answer a lot of these questions. Drop your Cowboys roster rating in the comments and let me know where you think this team stands right now.